good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings King Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby. We're really excited, actually, to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of The Huddle. Coach, yes! All right!
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real Portland live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards of Hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
Buenas noches, todo el mundo. Vamos a hablar de la pelota. Just saying, man. Just saying. Jeff's here already. He's ready to go. We love Jeff. What's going on, Big Daddy?
Jeff is a fan of all of our shows, so
Jeff is the man.
He has been sitting with me on these streams all week.
Well, you know what they say. I'm not sure. I don't know.
What do they say, man? They say you sound like a gringo. That's what they say.
You know what they say. Hey, man, Miami Hurricanes baseball.
Yeah.
Back in the discussion for a potential national seed, huh? Maybe.
We got to pause. We have a Gary Caput sighting.
Oh God. We were just talking about you, Gary.
Yeah, we were talking about you and wondering where the hell you've been. So thanks for stopping in here.
Yeah, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Yeah, it's baseball talk, baby. Talk to me. How do you feel about how do you feel about the series win versus a tough Louisville team, you know, who's been playing really well, playing some good baseball recently. I know they dropped a tough one, I think the week before they faced us, if I'm not mistaken. But they've been playing pretty good baseball. They've got some really, really good arms over there. They can hit a little bit. So just nothing to say. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it, man.
There was extensive Chick-fil-A talk on the basketball show earlier this week, and we figured you'd jump in with some spicy nuggets takes. So
that's all right. But yeah, so I mean, how do you feel about this weekend, this past weekend?
Yeah, it's so hard to get a read on this team because when they play poorly, they play really poorly. Like that game 2 was just completely laid an egg, but they're tough. Like if they're in a game, they go win it. And honestly, and we're going to talk about the pitching, obviously. With the state of the pitching, no business winning that third game. Fell behind 4-0 and came back and won it anyway. And just randomly Lekarica threw 3 and 3.1 shutout innings. It just, all right, we're in this game. And then he got to Walters. It's just, this team's got guts, man. They've got guts. They're tough. Completely different from last year's team, where last year's team had deep pitching and was probably overall better, but never really tested like this year's team gets tested on like every weekend. And man, they just, even the same thing, the road series before against North Carolina, like you lose that, you're one strike away from winning game 2 and winning the series, and they hit a bomb off Walters. You lose on a walk-off home run. You come back 30 minutes later and win game 3. Like this team's just tough. They're mentally tough.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what they're doing because, you know, sometimes when you see them play, you're just like, oof, this team is going to be hard to beat, man. At any moment, they can just, first of all, they can obviously, it's a pretty damn good hitting ball club. But then you talk about every once in a while, you get 3 1/3 from Lekarica, or you get a couple solid innings from, I don't know, throw anybody in there, man. Gallo now all of a sudden.
Yeah, Gallo's done some work, yeah.
You know what I mean? Ben Chestnut throws you 3 solid innings and then 1 inning he gets shelled, and you're just like, you're not sure what the hell's going on. And then all of a sudden, you know, they're up 10-4, and you're like, where the hell did this come from? So it's tough to get a gauge on if they are. My concern is my biggest concern is when the lights get really bright, right? We're talking about playoff baseball. Uh, the tournament is tough, man, because I know that right now, obviously, we'll talk about it now, but D1 baseball has us in the field of 64 as the 11th seed per se, obviously hosting down here in Coral Gables. But look, anybody that you face, we saw it last year, man. Ole Miss was what, 3 or 4? They were the 4 seed, I think, 3 or 4 seed in our bracket, and they ended up winning the College World Series. So at that point, everybody is good. Everybody's good. Whether you're the last team in or you're the or you're the number 1 seed. This is going to be tough, and you see it right there as Miami. It's right now these are the predictions. Miami obviously hosting Coral Gables with Indiana as the 2 seed, a tough team. It's funny, Indiana again. We see them in another sport. Crazy.
I mean, I'm feeling good if we see us lined up with Indiana. I'll tell you that much.
You got Indiana, Auburn, and then Army.
I mean, it would be. I mean, not funny for us, but funny in the macro sense. If we played them twice in basketball and beat them both times, and they play us in baseball and win.
Yeah, right. That would be crazy.
That would be exactly like par for the course here.
But it's what are they in? They're the Big Ten, right? Big Ten baseball. A lot of people don't give them enough respect. They had Michigan playing the College World Series a few years ago.
They've been coming
giving up. Yeah, they've got some teams there. So Maryland's another good ball club. I know they're in the SEC now, but they used to be a Big Ten team, if I'm not mistaken. So
Maryland?
Weren't they a Big Ten team?
They are a Big Ten team.
Oh, they are. I'm sorry. They were an
ACC team. Yeah.
My bad. Yes. So yeah, Big Ten. They're a Big Ten team now. So all these teams are good. Obviously, Auburn, an SEC team, they play tough competition, and then you've got Army, who plays good baseball. Also, they all do, right? And everywhere. Look. The number 4 seed in the Gainesville region is Florida Gulf Coast, who's kicked our ass. Who kicked our ass a couple times, or at least one time this year. That's a solid team as a number 4 seed in their division. So in their bracket. So you've got some really good teams all the way through. All 64 teams can play some baseball. So you got to be ready. You got to be ready, because if you drop one, now you got to win, a few games to just get out of the region. So it's tough. Yeah, these rankings change every week. Just have to continue winning. That's a great point.
Yeah, and then he also brought up. He's just like he's directing the show now. Canes, Cats, Heat 305. But we were actually going to talk about this too. Yeah, because it was something we kind of dismissed earlier, but the way this is shaping up.
Other teams really more than us. with some of these teams kind of falling apart, like Virginia and North Carolina, and even some of the other top teams, like Tennessee hasn't been playing great either.
But I think for us the big thing is Duke becoming a chance to, because one of the reasons we're like, there's no way we're gonna get a national seed is that just wasn't an opportunity to we needed one more quality series win.
Give me a second. Take over.
Yeah, was that we needed another quality series win, and it didn't look like we have a chance to get one. Then I'll just call you CCH 305 over here. As point, all of a sudden, there's a chance to do that against Duke now, who's now one of the top 8 seeds in this projection. As you said, that these projections change all the time, but there's one more quality series win. The RPI is going to be high. The RPI will be national seed worthy. And you got to figure, I think one of the things that happened with Virginia slipping, you can see them as the 2 seed, and Morgantown. Again, it's just one projection. But you got to figure there's going to be 2 ACC national seeds.
Right.
And Wake Forest is definitely going to be one of them. They're running away with the ACC. But that other spot, if we win against Duke, win that series, you got to feel like we have a very good chance of maybe getting a national seed here. So that's definitely in play.
I love what Canes Cats Heat says here at the end. That just shows how tough in general baseball really is, especially in our conference. But let me tell you, man, I say this all the time, and Vish, I say it all the time, how tough baseball is. There's so many good players, even in NIA, even in Division II and JUCO. I mean, we have a couple teams down here in South Florida. Miami-Dade College always has absolute studs that can go in and beat a Division I team at any moment. It doesn't matter. They always have 3 or 4 guys getting drafted. They just had a kid, Korean kid, I believe, that just didn't he just commit to Miami?
Yeah, we have a Korean kid at Miami.
Korean kid's a stud, just committed to Miami. And they always have some of the best players in the state of Florida and even in the country. In a small school like Miami-Dade, it's a Miami-Dade college it's a 4-year college, but it's I don't even know, what are they, NAIA?
Yeah, I think it's NAIA.
I mean, and they can come in and kick anybody's ass. Same thing with Broward College. Lynn University won a national title a few years ago in Division II baseball down here. Nova Southeastern is another team that has good baseball. Barry University. Shout out to the Bucks, baby.
I was about to say, when are you going to get to the home team there?
Baby.
I'm assuming everyone knows, but if you didn't, Jazz played baseball at Barry, so
I did.
that was the home team.
It was before the Jan Gomes days, but shout out, you got Jan Gomes out there. You had Henry Owens who played for Barry. So I mean, you got ballers all around. So baseball's a tough sport, man. And a lot of the times it's the hottest team in baseball that wins. It's not necessarily the best team that wins. So you look at Ole Miss last year do it. They got hot and they won. And let's be honest, right? Like Tennessee had the best pitching staff in the country. Vanderbilt is always loaded. All these big time programs, and they fell short. So you got to get hot. You got to stay hot. You got to be clutch at the right time. And even if you don't have the best pitching, if your pitching gets hot all of a sudden, anything could happen. And we've seen it before.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to talk about the pitching in a second, I think, but just to look at the ACC, you can kind of see why. Yeah, Wake Forest is basically locked in as a national seed. You go 16-4 in this conference. Like, even if they pretty much lose out, they'll probably still be a national seed.
Number 2 team in the country, right? Behind
number 2 team in the country, and there's a pretty big drop-off from them down below. Like, they're...
Boy, that Dylan Cruz kid at LSU is a stud, man.
Yep, he's going to be the number 1 pick. But you look at the Coastal here, and it is really tight. So
it is, and all those teams, with the exception, even Virginia Tech, who right now
they're on the bubble.
They're on the bubble. They're the first 4 out, right? I think they're one of the first 4 out. And that's a team that's 26-6. We're 28-6. We only have 2 more wins than them. It's about and I know I say that, but it really isn't even about the win-loss. It's more about the strength of schedule as well. We have one of the toughest schedules in the country so far.
Right, and that's for 2 reasons. One is like our crossover series have been tough, but also you talked about a second ago, like our midweek games are legitimate. A lot of these teams, like you're not going to get a good quote unquote small school in a lot of places. Meanwhile, like we're playing FAU, FIU. I don't think we played FGCU this year. We might have. I don't remember. But like basically, if you play anyone in Florida, they can play.
Yeah.
So they're not going to destroy your RPI.
School that has
we played Stetson. So if you play a Florida team, you're going to play a team that's good. That's also going to go out and beat other teams. So those midweek games, which screw a lot of programs' RPIs, ours are actually reasonable. So that helps us a lot when you compare to a team like Virginia Tech, when their midweek games are just not going to be as good quality. So it's just going to drop them down the pecking order there. So, but yeah, it's right in play there.
Yep.
You're a half game behind Duke. So we're playing Presbyterian this week. It's finals. That's a walkover.
You can't lose a single game this weekend. You got to.
Yeah, they're awful. Even for like that level, so you got it. It's gonna hurt our RPI and strength schedule anyway. But you got to win all 3 of those.
Yeah.
And then at Pitt, which you got to at least win that series. Yeah. And then
you finish at home with Duke.
So if you can, like Jazz said, sweep Presbyterian, win 2 or 3, gets Pitt, you'll be in position to win the ACC Coastal in that last week hosting Duke. And if you do that, it's hard to see, then you're starting to, and the RPI, the numbers will be there for a national seed. So you're kind of putting yourself in position to do that, which, a month ago did not seem possible. But part of it's also, let's be real, they say they don't do this, but they do. There's a certain number of national seeds they're willing to give to a conference. They're not going to put like 4 SEC and
unless
4 ACC.
No, unless you're the SEC.
No, they're not going to do like 4 of each because I think they would actually do that, and I think they would do it with the ACC too. But they got to travel schools, and they don't want they do geographic distribution.
Yeah.
Like Stanford is going to get a national seed just because they're the best team on the West Coast. It doesn't matter if they're top 8; they'll make them 8th.
Yeah.
No, because they need teams hosting all over the country, whether they admit it or not. It comes into play. But the fact that Virginia has fallen off so much has opened some doors for us.
Right. And truthfully, I mean, in the SEC, you've got LSU, you've got Florida, you've got Vanderbilt, you've got Tennessee. I know that some of them have been struggling a little bit recently, but all of those teams could potentially, fight for a couple spots also. So
yeah, no, they're most by far the 2 strongest conferences are the SEC and the ACC.
Yeah,
but they're not going to let all of them just host all the regions. So.
Right.
So there's a pecking order here. So if we can jump Duke in that pecking order, that puts us second, essentially behind Wake. And you got to feel pretty good then at that point that a national seed, definitely a host will happen, but
right.
You kind of got to feel pretty good about a national seed.
Just kind of keep winning, baby. Yeah, Jeff mentioned something about the pitching that we won't go very far with our pitching rotation.
Yeah, let's talk about the big elephant in the room.
JD is a great pitching coach, if you ask me. I was very hesitant to say that early on in his career, but I just feel like what he's been able to do, with the staffs that he's had, some of the staffs haven't been great, and he's been able to get a lot out of them. And then he's had some great staffs that he hasn't been able to get enough from, whether it's because of COVID or because
that's still that was the tragedy here.
That was the tragedy because that was a national championship.
That pitching staff was loaded, and that was before that entire squad took COVID to just party and not work on baseball and came back like crap. But and then we had
Freddie Zamora at shortstop.
Oh yeah, no that team was so loaded. Oh god, all 3 of the pitchers got drafted high. Oh, damn it. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Look, listen, the pitching staff is
well. So what do you do here? Because all right. So first of all, I guess. We'll go straight up on this. We don't know what the hell's going on with Carson Ligon. He came back for one appearance against Georgia Tech at home and then back out again now and did not pitch last weekend. So I mean we don't know what's going on there. Yeah. At this point, I think it's safe to assume if he comes back, great, it's like a bonus, but they got to have a plan.
You think he's injured? I think he's injured.
I mean they're very secretive, like nothing really comes out. During the North Carolina series, the ACC network people were saying, he's got tendonitis, and he'll be back. And then he came back, so we're like, all right, he's back. And then after that, he went right back to not pitching last weekend. So I don't know exactly what's going on there, but I do know. I think at this point, hopefully he comes back, but you're not gonna assume he's coming back.
Yes, I know. We spoke about that also.
It's good. I will say, good point. And also, we mentioned regionality earlier. I think there's a very heavy chance if we're not a national seed, regardless of what the number is next to us, it'll be aligned to the Florida regional. They do that. That's why we're always going up there. They're coming down here.
It's 64, and then it drops to 32, and then it goes to 8, right?
No, it's 64, then 16, then.
Is it 16?
Hmm?
Don't 2 teams out of every region make it?
Nope,
one team. Okay.
Yeah, so the winner of the regionals advance, and then you play a 3-game series, best of 3 series next weekend. So the super regionals are just a best of 3 series, which, if we're hosting, we're undefeated at home. You got to feel pretty good there.
Right.
If it's on the road against top quality team, which is what it will definitely be because they'll be at a national seed. Yep. We have not done well in those situations, so it's kind of to.
You almost got to hope that
point,
whatever other seed that we're playing, kind of craps the bed.
I mean, that's always a possibility too. Like if you're hosting a regional, you are in line to host the supers if the national seed loses the regional. So
happens all the time.
Yeah,
happens all the time. So we'll see.
Anyway, the pitching. So we basically have Gabe Zeal and then nothing.
Yeah, because
people.
When you say nothing, you mean like a guy like
the starter. Just where's our rotation, all right? Because theoretically, you mentioned like the regional format. Like if you win the first 2 games, then you only have 2 more left to play. But
Right.
if you lose one of those 2, you've got to win. You got to play like 5 games and win like 4 in a row. How are you gonna do that with this pitching staff?
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, and again, yeah, that's what we're thinking.
Yeah, I was thinking, but again, there's no reasonable expectation at this point that he would pitch
I mean,
anytime soon.
if you can get him back and he can be good, then that's great. Then now you've got a solid 1-2.
Yeah, and I mean, the third one is going to be Rosario. I mean, I think at this point, like I know he's not pitching well, but you don't even have options.
I think you got to go with whoever's hot. If it's Alex Torres, you go with Alejandro Torres.
I don't think you can. So this is the problem, right? Like
I just don't know who else. Yeah,
you can't afford to use him. I mean, we're overusing him to the extent that like he's coming out of the bullpen in one game and then starting the next one. Like you can't do that to the kid. And it's affecting some of his performance. Like he's gotten hit a few times lately. It's like, yeah, you pitch him every game, his arm's gonna go. Like you can't expect someone to do that. Not to mention, you know, you let him, you let a team see a pitcher, sleep on it overnight, break down all of his pitches, then start him the next game. It's like, what the hell, man? That's not gonna. They're gonna know everything at that point. I mean,
yeah, I don't know about the last 40 years because I don't know. I can't go back.
Yeah, but it is one of the in recent memory. Yeah,
it really is. It really is, and I just feel like.
And I would say it's not just a lot of it's the quantity. Like we never this year established a midweek starter. Right. And now when we lost Ligon, we lost one of our 3 weekends. We have 2 starters right now.
Yeah.
Despite whatever Rosario's doing, he's definitely one of the 2 people that, you know, we can start him on a weekend.
Right.
He's been hit or miss. But
here's the thing with Rosario, right? When he's on, he's best pitcher in the country, basically, right? That's how good he is. That's how good he looks. When he's off, he is the worst pitcher in the country. But there's no middle ground.
But I think the problem that we've had here is if we had Ligon in the rotation, you know, Rosario, if you got a Sunday guy coming in there throwing 97, 98, like that's a huge advantage even when he gets hit. Like, and he can go deep into games. You get to Sunday, your bullpen's kind of jacked up. He eats innings. Even when he's not pitching well. Like this last week, he went like 6 innings without even gave up 6 runs, but like he ate enough innings that we had a bullpen for game 3.
Right.
Like, so he's going to give you something there. We just don't have another starter, period. So it's like you got those 2, and if you get into the loose bracket of a regional, like you got to start 5 games. You know, we have 2 pitchers. So, I mean, I guess Lecarica is an option.
Yeah.
He's been pitching.
An option.
Yeah, Gaio. I think those are who you're going to end up if you get into those deep situations. As Jeff said, you could pitch Torres. The thing is,
Cinta got hit kind of hard when he started the other day, right?
Yeah, he didn't last well. Lecarica pitched 3 times last week and didn't allow a run. Right. He ate like 6 or 7 innings. So I think.
Jeff, we've actually have discussed this in the past.
I mean, I'll give this to you as our not non-sarcastically as someone that's like played the game at a high level.
Yeah, I just think that with him, I mean, a lot of it is mental. You see him break down when he gets into trouble, when he gets behind counts. It's more about the way that he throws the baseball, right? Like he doesn't have a lot of movement on his pitches. It's pretty straight, and anything that's straight and flat, regardless of how hard it is, can still be hit really hard as well. And so when you mix that in with the lack of focus at times, you're going to get a guy who's going to be erratic, who's going to be all over the place, and that throws that hard. He's going to walk people. He's going to give up, you know. I've seen how many times have we seen a Vish where he gets 2 quick outs.
Yeah.
Pops some guy up, strikes out another guy, and then all of a sudden a 2-out walk, or he hits someone. And then he can't find the strike zone. And then he gives up a couple runs like that real quick because someone hits a bomb off the wall. And it's just 2 or 3 runs, boom. And then he's out of the inning because he strikes out the next guy or whatever. You just see that too much with him because he gets too much. He gets into trouble. He starts thinking too much after 2 outs, which drives me crazy because at that point, man, just rear back and let it ride.
You can actually even see in his body language a little bit that's mental because he'll start like nodding like, okay, I got this. And I'm like, if you're having to convince yourself, just pitch, man. It's fine. And I think the I think the other thing is like you said, he throws so hard, and yeah, he hits 98. I was at a game where he hit 98, and it is when you miss like that and you leave it out over the plate, they just got to make any kind of contact, and that thing's gonna go.
Yep.
And that's why every time, and I commented on this over the weekend when, like you said, first inning cruised through it, second inning got the first 2 outs and just missed a spot, solo home run, boom.
And look, Rich, you play D2 baseball, so did I. What happens when you get behind hitters? When you get behind hitters, and then you try to be too perfect, right? You try to hit your spots too well. You take something off the ball, you leave it right over the plate. You don't hit your spots, and you get crushed, right? And people hit the ball, and that's what happens to him a lot, especially with 2 outs. Because I've seen it time and time again. The guy goes after people. His first 2 outs, boom, real quick, and then he kind of.
He's always on the verge of just like losing it, and he's one of the 2 pitchers, by the way. We're talking about Richard. The other one's Zeal. Hopefully Ligon. I mean, we don't know what's going on there, but hopefully he can come back. But other than that, like there's no one else has really started. We've been using whole staff on our midweek and on our Sundays now because Ligon hasn't been there. So
and Chestnut hasn't been really good either.
I mean, inconsistent. I mean, definitely. And Casey is right. Torres has started to struggle a little bit because we just overused him.
Right.
I mean, there was a 5-game period where he appeared out of the bullpen in one game, started another one, closed another one. It's just like you can't do that. It's just like it's too much. And so he ends up like basically, yeah, I'm sure he's tired. We pulled him after like an inning, 1.1 innings against Louisville in game 3 because I think they're finally we got to ratchet this down. This is
gonna get fatigued, man.
Also he's like coming out of the pen in one game and then trying to start the next one. It's just not because he was really good in game 1. He came in and this is one thing with him. He's a clutch pitcher when it's like. Yeah, when it's jammed up, he makes his pitches.
The problem is he's not a pitcher that can come in and throw 95, 96.
No, but
88 to 90, and that 88 to 90 when you're tired and you got a little dead.
Oh no, absolutely. His best thing for us. Yeah, I think he definitely needs rest, but that's what I'm saying. His best thing for us is he comes in clutch bullpen situations, gives us an inning, or gets us out of a jam. He's that dude makes clutch pitches. Like you put him into a pressure situation, he hits the spots. He's gotten out of so much trouble the last 2 years, actually. But by using him as a starter, like you said, they're just wearing him down, and then he's not effective across the board. But he was really good on Friday, struck out 2 batters and got to Walters, and then we tried to start him a day later, and it didn't go as well. Because like, what the F are you doing, man?
TVB has a really cool stat here. Rosario's K percentage at 25.9%, which is up 8% from last year. All his advanced stats are lower than his ERA, so there is hope. It seems that every ball hit off of him finds a hole or drops it. Yeah, and that's my point, right? Like you see Rosario pump it up to 98, strike out the first 2 guys, or strike out one guy, get the other guy to pop up or whatever, and then he kind of just falls apart a little bit. And gives up a couple bad hits, walks a guy or hits a guy, something along those lines, and it kind of falls apart a little bit. And I think that, look, he makes a great – you also make a great point as far as a ball finding the hole or drops in. It drives him crazy. You can see it. If someone hits the ball off the end of the bat or it gets jammed on a 98-mile-per-hour fastball up and in, and it gets over, Morales or something, it gets over the third baseman and falls in, a Texas leaguer, a little bleeder, it gets to him, right? And that drives any pitcher crazy, trust me. That drives anybody pitcher crazy when you make a great pitch and somehow still get, the guy still gets on base or finds a hole somewhere. It drives you crazy. You got to have short-term memory as a pitcher, and I think that sometimes he doesn't, and that's probably the biggest thing. His ball must be easy to see coming out of his hand. Yeah, that's another thing, Gary. It could be that as well. So I'm not a big fan of his mechanics. I don't like the whole, real quiet short step type thing. But I think that that's what they teach a lot at anyways. Not a huge fan of it, but it works for some guys. It doesn't work for everybody. That's why I'm a big, I guess, fan, a proponent of. Some mechanics work for some people, some mechanics work for another. Same thing with hitters at the plate, right? Not everybody's going to be the same, have the same, batting stance, do the same thing with their bat. So I think that, maybe he's just trying too hard to be too good.
He's getting. I think he's just got to come. Yeah, this is actually right. What I was about to say, like, he's got to understand that, like, look, he's got this, high end arm talent,
right?
So he puts this expectation on himself that he's going to shut everyone. He's not. I mean, frankly, it's a come to Jesus. You're not that good. Just battle through the game. Like, don't worry about it. If you give up 3 runs, it's fine. Like, if we can get 5 or 6 out of you and you've given up 3 runs, we'll take that every time. Like, we're not asking you to shut the other team out. Just, so like you said, you give up that solo shot. Sometimes it's not even hit hard, but he throws so hard it just goes anyway, right? I mean, or the little, like you said, jammed up and Texas leaguer falls in or whatever it is, just like, especially with Lorenzo Carrier's range out there in the outfield, it's a whole other problem. Like, you just get it anywhere into that side of the field and it's going to fall in. But just pitch through it. Like, your goal is not to shut everyone out. I think he goes out there thinking, I'm going to throw this past everyone. I'm going to blow them away. I'm going to shut everyone down. And they get a few hits and he just completely, I mean, there's been several times where we just had like one bad inning where if he had just mitigated the damage, it would have been fine because of like 5 runs in 1 inning. And we usually just leave him out there because we don't have a deep pitching staff and he can go long in games. So,
yeah.
But
thank God, by the way, thank God TBB and Jeff Lynn kind of make me feel good that I know what I'm talking about sometimes. Thank God for that, bro, because if not.
But don't encourage him, please.
Keep it coming, baby. Keep it coming. Yeah.
All right, so kind of to wrap up here, we'll obviously have a lot more next week because, like, Presbyterians, not really much to talk about. But just to kind of close things off here. So there was one comment about, I can't imagine this happens unless, like, somehow the first 2 games are completely lopsided because it's hard to see us winning a game without using Walters to begin with.
Right.
And then, I mean, so what's your solution on the pitching staff? Like, do we just, I mean, right now it looks like we can, I mean, Zeal and Rosario, despite spending most of this show talking about Rosario's problems, are definitely going to start.
Well, I think what you have to do first is you have to see how healthy Carson Ligon's going to be. If he's healthy, then, it changes a little bit. But, again, like you said, Vish, right, you can't kind of rely on him to be the horse that he was, kind of starting to be a little bit before he disappeared again. So, yeah, it's Johnny Holstaff, man. It's Johnny Holstaff, and you got to try to keep it together. If JD Arteaga somehow gets this pitching staff to really be productive, then he's got to win some sort of award, man. Assistant coach of the year or something, because and I'm not saying that because they're so terrible. They're not great. We get that. We understand that.
I would say there's a lot of, I think, Gallo should be better, and I think he's gotten a little bit better. He's someone you could potentially put into a game now, which you couldn't a month ago.
Yeah.
Definitely Lecarica has come back around after that period where he was basically every pitch he threw was getting knocked over the fence. Yeah. He's coming around pitching well. You got Torres, you got Walters, you got.
You need the starters to go 5 or 6, man. That's I think the most.
Yeah, and then you got those 5 pitchers you can use out of the bullpen. I mean, I think I will say a lot of the arms that we're bringing in, like to eat innings on blowouts, like we did in Game 2 against Louisville, they're not Miami caliber arms, and I'm not exactly sure what they're coming in here throwing mid-80s. And
what happens when you recruit? It's what happens when you recruit all these. Draft picks. Everybody goes to the league instead of going to college.
There's definitely some arms at the back end. The reason we can't expand, if you're wondering why we can't, like those pitchers we mentioned, that's it. Like you can't expand the rotation at all beyond that because there's just not. There's just no one to go to.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Man. All right. Good for you on the Lakers there. A random comment.
Yeah. All right. Well.
We'll
see what happens with after Presbyterian and
and I think the one thing for this weekend, it's a good opportunity to hopefully get a lot of these arms some work in non-pressure situations because we should be able to hit them pretty easily.
That's it.
All right, we'll be back next week though, and then we got 2 more ACC series left in, and then it is
that's a wrap. And then we'll see what happens. See you guys next week.
The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show.